Hello. All right, so this is going to be awesome. I want to share some tips with y'all about sounding better, sounding more like an authentic Cebuano speaker, even in composition, prose, poetry, writing, literature, anything like that. I just want to share these tips that can help you, or that will help you actually. So the first one that we have here for the tips would be using contractions more often. So we talked about contractions, how you can contract words with some particles, right? If you use those more often, um, it will definitely help you with speech. Sometimes though, contractions, just be cautious because contractions sometimes um, won't sound as good when you contract words in various events, especially when you want to emphasize some things. It's better to not use contractions sometimes, but most of the times, contractions are recommended. And you will find out when those times to not use contractions would be, especially when you want to make an emphasis or explain something in detail. Next one we have is no code switching, right? Code switching. So do not code switch with Tagalog, English, other languages out there. Yeah, if a Cebuano word exists for it, use it. Okay. And code switching, it's like mixing up your languages, right? It's a linguistic term that people use to express mixing languages. You know, like the Taglish, Ceblish, Cebulog, whatever, right? Assimilation of affixes is next. So use your affixes. Use it, use it, use it. You know how to, you already learned these affixes. You already know their functions. You know how to use them. So go ahead and assimilate them into your words and verbs, nouns, adjectives, whatever you have, right? So use the affixes because they will definitely help you, especially affixes that have the morphological process of assimilation. Okay, so those affixes that change phonology because of a morphological change, use those affixes. And I'll show you an example on the sentence that I wrote down below. Alignment of syntax is the final tip that I can give. So let's talk about syntax first. That's the word order, and we know that it's a predicate initial, right? A, a clause initial, or a verb initial, or some sort of action initial syntax, where Cebuano starts with whatever verb, action, or reason of being, or something like that is first, and then followed by your subjects and objects and what have you, right? So more like a VSO or a predicate initial or a verb initial syntax, right? And because of that syntax, it determines how we use our cases and where the nouns and pronouns and other modifiers and particles and enclitic particles go, right? So alignment of syntax, do not think of this as directly translating it from an English perspective, right? Think of it in a Cebuano perspective where an action or a clause goes first, followed by the other important information. Because I have, in the past, I've seen people who translate English texts from English into Cebuano directly, and it doesn't sound well. And I'm going to make another video about translation issues. So translations are definitely things that I need to address because sometimes people translate things word for word, and that does not work, especially in foreign languages. In any language that you will learn, translation does not work word for word like that. You need to have some sort of feel of the feel of the content. Yeah, so alignment determines where the syntax of the cases and verbs and particles, etc. So just think about that. That's a really big one to think about because people will start translating and then they're going to translate it in a way that doesn't have a good flow. It just doesn't sound so well. So moving on, we have down here, as I just wrote a little paragraph that can show you some things that, or some elements that I was talking about, right? And it's just a short story about two people that just want to, catch up and gossip. So the first part, right? Well, I'll read it first, and then we'll go through it as I explain some things or some elements of the tips. All right. Tagbuta sa tagbuanan nato didto sa atubangan sa bantog nga bag-ong kapehan. aron makatabi-tabi ay tag chismis sa kabit niya samtang mga pek tagani. All right. Um, so I guess I can go a little slower. The first part of this is tagbo ta sa tagboana nato didto sa atubangan sa bantog nga bag-ong kapehan. That's the first part. The second part is aron makatabi-tabi ay tag chismis sa kabit niya samtang mga pe tagani. Okay. If you, I mean, obviously this is a video, so you can rewind it slower or slow the speed of the video, rewind it, pause it, fast forward, whatever, right? So do whatever you gotta do to ensure that what you heard was what you heard. And also listen to where the stress and the glottal stops and the all that stuff lies. All right, because a lot of foreign people that learn Cebuano or other foreign languages, right? It's not just Cebuano, but when you're learning a foreign language, sometimes there's stress in a word that people don't know and they mispronounce the word, right? Especially on languages where stress is the determining factor of what the word means, like the tonal languages, like, you know, any tonal language. So let's go for this, I guess, as I don't know how to go about this, but we'll just go through it, right? So tagbo ta sa tagboanan, and this is what I mean, right? Because tagbo is the meeting place, but when we add that anan to it, remember that anan ending, it becomes a place that you usually meet, right? It becomes a noun. So from we get the verb tagbo with the anan ending, we change it to a noun to mean a meeting place. Tagboanan, nato dito sa atubangan. Now, I wrote atubangan as atubangan. This is what it's written as in the standard dialect, right? Some dialects will say atbangan or atbang, right? Atbang or atbangan, right? Atbangan. They delete that u, the letter u. But in the standard, it's the full form, atubangan, right? Atubangan sa bantog nga bag-ong kapehan. Here again, the han ending, right? And this is what I mean with the affixes, right? Kape is that noun, but when we add that han ending, it changes it to a place where coffee is being done. So kapehan is the coffee shop, okay? And that's what I mean. You need to start using those affixes with one of the tips that I said. Affixation of words. Aron, right? I want to explain this aron. So aron or para, right? Those words, right? Instead of saying things like so or for that, you can just say aron, right? You don't need to use Seblish or whatever or English in saying so that, you know, so that makatabi tabi ay. No, that sounds like shit. Don't do it. But, just use the actual Cebuano word because it exists in the language, right? And you're gonna amaze native speakers that you can speak their language better than they can. Okay, and that's the point of it, is that you want to shame these native speakers because they can't think of the native Cebuano word for some of these words, right? And you want to prove them wrong. Now we talked about the these affixes again. So the verb here is tabi, right? Tabi. And tabi, we know it means to just be side by side gossiping with somebody, right? Tabi, 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 ta. It's like, oh yeah, we'll sit side by side so we can gossip. That's what it's talking about. That's what the verb is. Tabi, to sit side by side to gossip. There's actually a specific word for that in Cebuano. Lo and behold, it's really amazing. But what I did here was tabi. I reduplicated this again, morphological process of reduplication, right? Tabi, tabi. So I reduplicate it to show emphasis of the verb being the verb being done, which means, oh, there's some seriousness in this meaning, right? And then I put the maka prefix before that, which shows the abilitative way of having this verb, right? Tabi, maka tabi is like to have the ability or to have the progress of actually having a serious gossip with someone. And I put the I ending at the end. Why did I do that? Because remember, we talked about I being that back and forth, that reciprocal back and forth action, right? You're gonna do this verb with someone else while that other person does something, the same verb back to you, right? Because we're talking about the I with the ta, kitang duha, right? With that I, so it puts a lot more emphasis on it. It just it just embellishes the verb a lot more. Makatabi-tabi ay tag chismis means is the noun for gossip, right? Um, Tag tis, and then look what I did here. I forgot to I overlooked this, but look, I put a contraction here with ta and og, right? Tabi tabi tag chismis sa kabit niya samtang mangape. Here's the other one, mangape. Kape means to have coffee, right? But what I did was I assimilated the prefix from mangkape, right? Because it's magkape to mangkape. Now I did this because mang expresses the plural. The plural. There's more than one person doing an action. So mangkape ta. Now this is the mag, right? The mag prefix plural in the actor focus. Why is it in the actor focus? Because we're talking about us too, the two of us. We're the ones that are going to be the important ones doing all this bad stuff, right? All this bad shit we're going to be doing, from talking bad about other people. We're going to meet and talk shit about other people. We're talking about us. We are the main people doing the whole thing. And then of course gani. So samtang mangape tagani, while we even have coffee, right? Gani is that enclitic particle that expresses like, oh yeah, such that, or even, or to, right? While we even have coffee, right? Even it's that adverb. So it's an enclitic particle adverb. But yeah, this is just, again, I'm not going to go in depth with this because most of this stuff you should already know. They're just tips to help you embellish your speech, your composition, and writing and reading, right? And I think more will be coming up for these tips because I do have a lot more to say.